A half ago, I started looking for a way and a place to go to yoga teacher training, and I actually had signed up to be in a class in where I lived, based in the studio where I usually went to yoga class, and but that class never actually formed because there were not enough qualified students to take it. So I thought, okay, that's fate, and I thought I talked to people about where to go, and particularly I talked to my two primary yoga teachers. I think of them as my root teachers. The initial teacher, Kim Chandler, who was trained at Kripalu, where Don started, and then another teacher named Jen Thomas, who teaches yin yoga, among other types. And both of them recommended a number of programs to me, actually around the world. And they said, if you have an opportunity to go for a full month to a program, that is ideal, rather than going a weekend a month, which is a typical schedule when you go in the place where you live. A weekend a month for 10 months. But they said if you have the luxury and the time to go for a full month in an immersion style course, you should do that. And the name Nosara kept coming up. And I think there were a couple of reasons for that. At first, I didn't know there was a Nosara town, and this Nosara Yoga Institute was all one to me. Both of my teachers knew that I was very interested in not just learning the asanas, the yoga postures, but understanding the roots of yoga and the wisdom tradition from which the asanas spring. And so I was interested in all of the 8 limbs of yoga. Because while I see the postures and the asanas as a gateway, and understand much better now the importance of the body as a temple of the spirit, I am most deeply interested in consciousness and witness consciousness. And Don was described to me as a person who could take on my challenging questions. I was told he liked older students, which was encouraging, and that I would like him. And that has very much been the case. So I haven't been practicing yoga very long. In a few months, it will be about 3 years since I took a 40-day yoga intensive where I took a yoga class every day for 40 days to get a taste of what it was like. But what sparked that interest in yoga was actually my husband's death. My husband died just about 4 years ago, and he died because he died completely unafraid of death. He had had a spiritual practice of actually not yoga, meditation, for 40 years, and he said he saw the beauty inside of himself every day. And he came from that place, and he faced death utterly unafraid, which Tibetan lamas tell me is highly unusual, even for people who have had spiritual practices for a long time. So I felt quite privileged to accompany him on that path to his death, and I was really irrevocably changed as a result of it. So I knew that when I was looking for a yoga teacher training program, I wanted a program that had an understanding that was based in the concept of consciousness or witness consciousness. And so decided to sign up to come here. One of the things that's been lovely for me is the other students. That I really enjoyed the fact that it was half American, but half people from other parts of the world. England, Canada, 3 from Norway. Very different ages. I'm the granny of this group, but there's also an 18-year-old here, so who's one of the people I talk to the most. So there are not divisions based on age or gender. Also, actually in our group, out of 20 of us students, 6 of them have been men. So that's terrific, because often in the yoga world it's so female, and it's really great to have the male energy around in a yoga environment, because it can be quite different and add a whole different flavor. So I've really enjoyed the group of students. In terms of yoga itself, I think the training has made me, first of all, comfortable to teach. If I wanted to teach asanas, I actually already have a job offer before I got trained. The owner of the studio where I go often has said, when you come back from Nosara, I hope you'll teach for me. And I was very complimented, and it was very nice feeling to know that if I wanted to teach, I already had a place. But I think that for me, I will continue to, at this point at least, explore, and continue to deepen my meditation, maybe explore more in the Buddhist traditions, which are very highly compelling to me. It's like a Mayan temple from the front. I've seen lots of those, and it's very dramatic. It's a lot of steps. But it's quite beautiful, and the setting itself is really near perfect. You're in nature, and yet you have the comforts of being in really a high-level hotel. And I can't think of a creature comfort I would have wanted that I've wanted the past month. The lesson that I'll take home with me is a deeper understanding that that the answers for me and for anybody actually are within ourselves. That it's there's not authority outside of ourselves. That and perhaps this is what I've most appreciated about the philosophy behind the pedagogy here, that the truth is within, and that it's nothing to learn, it's simply something to open ourselves up to. It's a new time for Nosara, because it has, now you can stay here and eat here. I've heard stories from people who came before that. They had that kind of facility where they lived on the beach and hiked in every day. I should say that actually for me, I think unlike for many of the students here, for me, the biggest challenge has been the physicality of yoga, and that's based on 2 things. One is I'm a relatively new practitioner, but B, also due to my age, and also before that I was really not focused very much on my body, not enough on my body. So there's not only, up to 4 hours of yoga every day, in addition to a schedule of 8 hours of training a day, a total of 8 hours. You have to climb around this place. You have to walk up mountains to get to the meeting place to take the yoga. I quickly found the less mountainous paths. I take the low road to these places. But when I think about coming here, staying, walking, and then not being able to stay here, but renting a place in town, walking here through the jungle, and then walking even further to the yoga studio, having to come back to fix my own meals. I think that it would have been impossible for me. And so I'm very glad that I've come at this stage in the Institute's development, because I can just rest in between. And for me, that's been quite important.